The battlefield was quiet in a way that felt wrong. Not the silence of victory, nor the hush of defeat, but the heavy stillness that comes just before blood touches the earth. Fog crept low over the grass, thick as breath held too long. The soldiers of Ulster stood frozen, spears trembling in their hands, their eyes fixed on the river that cut through the plain like a silver wound. That was when they saw her. She stood at the riverbank, barefoot, her black hair hanging loose like a curtain of night. Her dress was torn and darkened, soaked in something that looked far too thick to be watered. She knelt calmly, dipping her hands into the river, washing a blood-stained cloak as if it were an ordinary, everyday chore. No one dared to speak her name. They didn't have to. Every warrior knew the old warning, whispered by fathers to sons for generations. If you see a woman washing the clothes of the living before a battle, you are already dead. But one soldier, young, foolish, and desperate to prove himself, stepped forward. "Woman," he called out, his voice shaking. "Who are you?" She turned slowly. One of her eyes was a deep and endless black. The other burned red, glowing like an ember buried deep in ash. When she smiled, it wasn't cruel. "Just knowing, I am the end you are walking toward," she said softly, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves. The wind shifted. Crows appeared on the nearby stones, dozens of them, their black feathers blending into the fog. Their intelligent eyes followed the young soldier as he stumbled backward, sheer terror tightening its grip on his chest. The woman rose to her feet. The cloak in her hands was now clean, but the river behind her ran dark, stained crimson. She walked toward the soldiers, her footsteps making no sound on the wet grass. As she passed them, each man felt something leave his body, a warmth, a certainty, a future slipping away like sand through their fingers. Some dropped to their knees right there. Others wept without even knowing why. She stopped directly in front of the young soldier. "You will die screaming," she said, her voice gentle, almost a whisper. "Not today, but soon." He tried to run. Moments later, the battlefield erupted in absolute chaos. Steel clashed against steel, bodies fell to the earth, and screams tore through the fog. Yet, the young soldier survived the fight without a single wound. They found him 3 nights later. Alive but broken, he sat beside that same river, staring into the water, unable to speak a single word. His eyes were wide and unblinking, reflecting something no one else could see. When they dragged him away, they noticed his reflection lagging behind, smiling long after his own face had gone still and empty. That night, the crows returned. Villagers all across the land began whispering of her sightings. A woman standing at the crossroads before wars began. A lone crow watching from a rooftop just before a king's death. A voice in the wind calling soldiers by their names, not to lure them, but simply to remind them of their fate. She never chased, she never touched, she only chose. Those who saw her were marked. Some died on the battlefield, their end swift. Others lived long enough to understand what they had truly lost: their will, their sleep, their very reflection in the water. And sometimes, on moonless nights, people still claim to hear the sound of water being stirred and cloth being washed. Near rivers where no woman should be, because the Morrígan is not a ghost, she is not a demon, she is the certainty that comes before death. And if she ever looks at you, your story has already been written. Don't miss our next dive into the world of myth and legend. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks for watching.